The old house on Hawthorne Street. In the small, sleepy town of Riverton, there was a house on Hawthorne Street that had been abandoned for decades. The townspeople avoided it, claiming it was cursed, but that was merely superstition. Or so Emily thought when she and her friends decided to explore it one chilly October evening. Emily had always been drawn to the macabre. The stories of the house intrigued her. It was said to be haunted by the spirits of a family that vanished without a trace in the 1950s. They had left behind a perfectly preserved home, as if they'd simply evaporated into thin air. The house was a grand Victorian, its once white facade now streaked with grime and encroaching ivy. Emily, her friend Jake, and his twin sister Laura stood at the front gate, peering through the iron bars at the overgrown garden and the dimly lit windows. "We're going in," Emily declared, her voice brimming with a mix of excitement and trepidation. Jake and Laura exchanged glances but followed her up the creaky steps to the front door. The door was unlocked, swinging open with a groan that seemed to echo through the empty hallways. The air inside was stale, and the scent of mildew was strong. Emily fumbled with her flashlight, casting long, jittery beams of light across the dust-covered furniture and tattered drapes. The trio moved cautiously through the house, their footsteps stirring up motes of dust that danced in the narrow beams of their flashlights. The ground floor was relatively uneventful: a living room with cobwebbed furniture, a kitchen filled with broken appliances, and a dining room where the table was set with old, yellowed dishes. When they reached the staircase, they hesitated. The upper floor was rumored to be the source of the house's eerie reputation. Taking a deep breath, Emily led the way up the stairs, which creaked ominously under their weight. The second floor was colder, and the air felt heavier. They moved down a hallway lined with closed doors. Each door was slightly ajar, as if beckoning them to peer inside. They opened a few, revealing bedrooms frozen in time, old-fashioned beds covered with faded quilts and family portraits staring blankly at them. In one of the rooms, they found an old rocking chair in the corner, its cushion tattered and worn. The chair was slowly rocking back and forth, though there was no draft and no one was touching it. Emily's heart raced, but she convinced herself it was just the house settling. The final door at the end of the hallway was different from the others. It was locked, but the key was lying on the floor in front of it as if waiting for them. Emily picked up the key, her hands trembling, and unlocked the door. Inside was a room unlike the others. It was pristine, almost untouched by time. The bed was neatly made, the curtains were drawn, and a single photo sat on the bedside table. It was a picture of a young family, 2 parents and a little girl. Emily's heart skipped a beat. The girl in the photo looked eerily similar to Laura. As Emily picked up the photo to examine it, a cold breeze swept through the room. Laura shivered and clutched Jake's arm. Suddenly, the door slammed shut behind them with a resounding bang. They tried to open the door, but it was locked tight. Panic set in as they pounded on the door, calling for help. The temperature in the room dropped sharply, and they could see their breath fogging in the air. In the dim light of their flashlights, Emily noticed something on the wall. It was a series of scratches that looked like they had been made by desperate fingers trying to escape. The scratches formed words, "Help us." Laura's eyes were wide with fear, and she was visibly shaking. Jake was trying to force the door open, but it wouldn't budge. The air grew heavier, and the whispers began, soft, mournful whispers that seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere all at once. Emily's flashlight flickered, and she could see the figure of a little girl in the corner of the room, her face pale and her eyes hollow. She was standing still, watching them with an expression of sadness and fear. Who are you?" Emily asked, her voice barely a whisper. The girl opened her mouth, but no sound came out. Instead, the whispers grew louder, merging into a cacophony of distressing voices pleading for release. The room felt like it was closing in on them. Just as the fear became unbearable, the door suddenly swung open. Emily, Jake, and Laura stumbled out of the room and fled down the stairs. They didn't stop until they were outside, gasping for air and trembling with adrenaline. They never spoke of what happened in that room. The house on Hawthorne Street remained abandoned, its secrets locked away behind its rotting doors. The townspeople still spoke of the curse, but now Emily and her friends knew the truth of the house's sorrowful past. And sometimes, when the wind howled through the empty streets of Riverton, they would hear faint, mournful whispers carried on the breeze, a reminder of the family that had vanished and the spirits that remained trapped in the shadows of the old Victorian house.